The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was massive. It stretched upward for hundreds of meters, filled with floating platforms where delegates from 1,000 worlds sat in judgment. Lights of every color moved across the ceiling like slow stars. The air smelled strange, a mix of chemicals that let all the different species breathe together. Admiral stood alone on a small platform in the center of it all. She wore her dress uniform, dark blue with silver stars on the shoulders. Her black hair was pulled back tight. Her face showed nothing. Around her, aliens of every shape watched and whispered. The High Speaker of the Council floated forward on his platform. He was a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms. His name was, and he had led the Council for 300 years. His voice echoed through the hall like thunder. "We have heard all the evidence," said. "We have studied your species for 100 years. We have watched you fight. We have seen your wars. We have measured your violence." Did not move, she did not speak, she simply watched. "Humanity is not like other species," continued. "You fight not for survival, you fight not for resources. You fight because fighting is in your blood. You enjoy it. You celebrate it. Your history is written in fire and death." The delegates began to make sounds of agreement. Some clicked, some hummed, some made noises that hurt human ears. "We gave you a chance," said. "We welcomed you to the galactic community. We shared our technology. We opened trade routes. We treated you as equals." "And we were grateful," finally spoke. Her voice was calm and clear. It cut through the noise like a blade. "We followed your laws. We kept peace with all species. We hurt no one." "That is true," admitted. "But we have seen your potential. We have looked at your history. We know what you are capable of. The Council cannot take such a risk." A delegate from a water world spoke up. Her voice bubbled and splashed. "The humans nearly destroyed their own planet before they reached space. They killed millions of their own kind. They are dangerous." Another delegate, a being made of crystal, added his voice. It rang like broken glass. "My people watched the humans fight something called World War II. They killed 60 million in just 6 years. 60 million. We have never seen such violence." His hands became fists at her sides, but her face stayed calm. "We do not hate you," said, and he almost sounded sad. "We fear you. There is a difference, and fear makes us cautious." "What is your decision?" asked. The hall became very quiet. Every delegate leaned forward. This moment would change everything. "Earth and all human colonies will be exiled to the Outer Rim," announced. "You will have no contact with Council space. You will not trade with us. You will not communicate with us. You will live in the empty places between the stars, far from civilization." The delegates erupted in approval. Platforms shook with their celebration. They had solved the human problem without firing a single shot. Waited for the noise to die down, then she spoke again. "May I ask one question?" Nodded. "You may." "What happens if we refuse?" The silence returned, heavier than before. His 4 arms crossed over his chest. "Then we will use force. The combined fleet of 1,000 worlds will push you out. You cannot win against such numbers." Nodded slowly. She looked around the hall, studying each delegate, the water being, the crystal creature, the tall gray ones, the small furry ones, the ones with too many eyes, the ones with no eyes at all. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was not an angry smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something that others did not. "You are right," she said. "We cannot win against such numbers, not today." She turned and began to walk toward the exit. Her boots made sharp sounds on the metal floor. Every eye in the hall followed her. Admiral called out, "Do you accept our verdict?" She stopped but did not turn around. "The Galactic Council has chosen exile for Earth," she said. "You have made your decision. Now we will make ours." "What does that mean?" demanded. Finally turned. Her eyes were hard like black stones. "It means that you have forgotten something important about humans. You studied our wars. You counted our dead. You measured our violence, but you did not study what happens when we are pushed into a corner. We do not understand, said. We do not break, said. We do not surrender. We do not fade away. When the universe tells us we cannot survive, we find a way. When enemies surround us, we grow stronger. When we are exiled to the darkness, we learn to live in the darkness. She walked to the door. You think you are protecting yourselves from us. You think exile will make you safe, but you have just made a terrible mistake. What mistake? His voice had changed. He sounded worried now. You have given us a reason to become something more than we are. You have united every human in the galaxy against you, and you have shown us that the Council sees us as enemies. The door opened. Light from outside flooded in. We will go to the outer rim, said. We will disappear into the empty places, and you will forget about us. But we will not forget about you. We will remember this day. We will remember every word. And one day, when you need us most, you will understand what exile really cost you. She stepped through the door and was gone. The hall remained silent for a long time, finally spoke. She is bluffing. Humans are emotional creatures. They say things they do not mean. The delegates agreed. Of course she was bluffing. What could one small species do against the entire galaxy? They returned to their business and forgot about Earth. It was the biggest mistake they would ever make. Captain stood on the bridge of the carrier ship Hope. Through the large window he could see Earth floating in the darkness of space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. His home, the home of every human who had ever lived. Soon it would be empty. The exodus had taken 3 months to prepare. Every human on Earth, on Mars, on the moon colonies, on the space stations, all of them were now aboard the Great Fleet. 12 billion people packed into 10,000 ships, the largest movement of any species in galactic history. Commander walked up beside him. She was small but fierce, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been his second in command for 15 years. All ships report ready, she said. The last transport just left Sol Station. Nodded slowly. Any problems? None. Everyone came willingly. The Council expected us to fight or refuse. They did not expect us to simply leave. Outside, the fleet stretched in every direction. Massive carrier ships, fast scout vessels, heavy cargo haulers filled with supplies and equipment, hospital ships, factory ships, everything humanity would need to survive in the unknown. The Council escort is waiting at the jump point, continued. They will guide us to the outer rim coordinates. No, said. Looked at him, sir. We are not going to the outer rim, not to the place they have chosen for us. But the Council has exiled us. They have declared us unwanted. They have said we are too dangerous to live among them. Turned to face his commander. If they believe we are dangerous, let us show them what dangerous really means. His eyes grew wide. You want to run? I want to disappear. There are places in this galaxy that no one has explored, dark regions where the stars are few and far between. The Council has never gone there. They are too scared. We would be completely alone, said. No help, no trade, no contact with any other species. Exactly, and that means no one watching us, no one controlling us, no one deciding what we can and cannot become. Was quiet for a long moment, then she smiled. It was a fierce, wild smile. Where do we go? Pointed to a star chart on the main screen. A vast, empty region marked in red. Warning labels covered it in every Council language. The Void Territories, 200,000 light-years from Council space. No known civilizations, no mapping, no records. The Council will look for us. Let them look. By the time they realize we are not in the outer rim, we will be gone, and I have a special task for you. Sir, I need you to erase everything, every navigation record, every communication log, Every piece of data that shows where we are going. When we disappear, I want it to be complete. Nodded, I can do that, but the escort ships will report our direction. We will jump to the outer rim coordinates first. Then when the escorts leave, we jump again, and again, and again. By the time anyone comes looking, our trail will be cold. The fleet began to move. Engines lit up across the darkness like 10,000 new stars. Earth grew smaller behind them. Some people cried. Some prayed. Some simply watched in silence as their birth world faded away. Felt the sadness too, but under the sadness was something else, something hot and bright. Hoping. The Council thought exile would break humanity. They thought sending humans to the empty places would end their story. They were wrong. This was not an ending. This was a beginning. The fleet reached the jump point. Council escort ships waited there, sleek gray vessels with weapons ready. They did not trust humans even now. Fleet Commander, the escort captain called over the radio. His voice was cold. You will follow our navigation path exactly. Any deviation will be considered an act of war. Understood, replied calmly. The jump drives activated, space twisted and folded. The stars blurred into lines of light. When the blur cleared, they were in the outer rim. Empty space stretched in every direction. No planets, no stations, nothing but darkness and distant stars. This is your new home, the escort captain announced. The Council wishes you well. Then the escort ships turned and jumped away, gone in a flash of light. Waited exactly 5 minutes, then he gave the order. Second jump now. The fleet jumped again, more empty space, but this was different empty space, farther from everything. Again. Jump after jump, 10 times, 20 times. Each jump took them deeper into the unknown. Worked at her station, fingers flying across controls. Erasing navigation data now. All records of our jumps are being deleted. The Council will have no way to track us. What about our destination? I have programmed a final jump to the edge of the void territories. After that, we will need to navigate manually. No star charts exist for that region. Nodded, good, we will make our own charts, our own maps, our own future. The last jump was the longest. The drive strained, the ships shook, some people screamed in fear. Then it was over. They hung in space at the edge of everything known. Behind them, the galaxy glowed like a river of light. Ahead of them, there was only darkness. We made it, whispered. Pressed the ship-wide communication button. His voice reached every human in the fleet. This is Captain. As of this moment, we are free. The Council cannot reach us. They cannot control us. They cannot exile us to anywhere because we have exiled ourselves. He looked out at the darkness ahead. The galaxy sees us as monsters. They fear what we might become. They are right to be afraid, but not for the reasons they think. He took a deep breath. We are going to build something new out here. A civilization that answers to no one. A people who will grow stronger with every generation. The Council gave us 100 years and called us violent. Let us see what we can become with 200 years of freedom. Across the fleet, people listened. They had lost their homes. They had lost their place in galactic society. They had lost everything except each other. But they were human, and humans did not break. Set course into the void, ordered. We have work to do. The fleet moved forward into the darkness. Behind them they left no trace, no record, nothing but empty space and fatting engine heat. The Galactic Council celebrated that day. The human problem was solved. Earth was gone. They would not hear from humanity again for 200 years. And when they did, they would wish they had never exiled them at all. 200 years passed like water through open fingers. The Galactic Council grew fat and comfortable. Trade routes expanded. New species joined the great family of civilizations. Wars became rare. Peace spread across the stars like morning light. Nobody talked about humans anymore. They had become a story that parents told children to scare them. The violent apes from Earth, the creatures who killed 60 million of their own kind, the monsters who were sent away before they could hurt anyone else. But they were gone now. The galaxy was safe. High Speaker had died 50 years after the Exile. His replacement died too, and the one after that. The council had new leaders now, young ones who had never seen a human face or heard a human voice. Earth was just a name in old history files, a warning about what could happen when violence was allowed to grow. Then the reports started coming. It began on a small colony at the edge of council space, a mining world called Theta 7. The workers there were beings with 6 legs and compound eyes. They spent their days digging precious metals from deep underground. One night, their radio equipment picked up something strange, a signal from the darkness beyond charted space. It was faint and broken, but it was definitely artificial. "What is it?" the colony leader asked. The communications officer studied the signal. His antennae twitched with confusion. "I do not know. It is not in any known language. The pattern is strange, mathematical, repeating, but the origin point is somewhere in the void territories." The void, nothing lives there. "Something does now." The colony leader reported the signal to the council. It was logged as unusual and then forgotten. Just space noise, just random interference. But more reports followed. A cargo ship passing through Sector 12 claimed to see strange lights in the distance. Lights that moved in formation, like ships, but there were no ships in that region of space. A science station studying a distant star detected metal signatures that should not exist. Large structures, artificial structures, far away in the darkness. A military patrol found the wreckage of an old probe floating in empty space. The probe was council design, sent to explore the void 300 years ago. It had never returned. Now it was back, but changed. Someone had opened it up and studied it. Then they had put it back together and pushed it toward council space. Like a message, like a warning. Who could have done this? The patrol captain wondered. Nobody had an answer. The strangest report came from a trade ship traveling near the border regions. The captain was a reptilian being named. He had been flying cargo routes for 40 years. He thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. "It came out of nowhere," he told the council investigators. His scales were pale with fear. "One moment we were alone. The next moment there was a ship beside us, just floating there." "What kind of ship?" "I have never seen anything like it. It was black, completely black, no lights, no markings. It was shaped like a blade, like a weapon." "Did it attack you?" "No, it just watched us for about 10 minutes. Then it was gone, not jumped away, just gone, like it was never there." "Did you scan it?" "We tried. Our sensors could not read it. It was like scanning empty space." The council dismissed the report as imagination. Was old. Maybe his mind was failing. But more captains reported the same thing. Black ships appearing from nowhere, watching, then vanishing, never attacking, never communicating, just watching. The council began to worry. They sent scout ships into the void territories. None came back. They sent military vessels with heavy weapons. None came back. They sent an entire battle fleet with 50 ships and 10,000 soldiers. 3 months later, one ship returned. Only one. The crew was alive but changed. They sat in silence. They stared at nothing. When asked what they saw, they would only say one word. "Humans." The council called an emergency meeting. The great hall was filled with worried delegates. The new High Speaker, a female of species named, stood at the center. "This cannot be," she said. "Humans were exiled to the outer rim. They should have died out centuries ago." "Obviously they did not," a delegate replied. "The outer rim coordinates were checked. They were empty. The humans never went there." Then where did they go? Into the void, into the darkness, where we could not follow. The hall exploded with noise. Delegates shouted and screamed. 200 years of peace had made them soft. The idea of humanity returning was terrifying. "What do we do?" demanded. Nobody answered, nobody knew. Deep in the void territories, far from council eyes, the human civilization thrived. They had built cities on 1,000 worlds. They had developed technology that the council could not imagine. They had grown from 12 billion to 300 billion. And they had not forgotten. Every child learned the story of the exile. Every school taught the history of how the council betrayed humanity. Every generation carried the memory of being cast out like garbage. They watched the council through their invisible ships. They listened to their communications. They studied their weaknesses. They were not angry. Anger fades with time. They were patient. They were ready. They were waiting. The new leader of humanity was a woman named. She was the great-great-great-granddaughter of Admiral. She sat in her command center, surrounded by screens showing council space. "They know we are here now," her advisor said. "The secrecy is over." Nodded slowly. "Good, let them wonder, let them worry. Let them understand that exile did not destroy us, it made us stronger." "What do we do now?" Smiled. It was the same cold smile her ancestor had shown the council 200 years ago. "We wait a little longer. The council will soon have bigger problems than us, and when that day comes, they will learn the price of their mistake." In the darkness of space, 300 billion humans prepared for the future. The council had tried to throw them away. The council had tried to forget them. Now the council would remember. And they would regret. The swarm came from between galaxies. They were not a species. They were a hunger. Billions of creatures moving as one mind. Living ships made of bone and flesh. Mouths that could eat entire moons. A force that had destroyed 100 galaxies before this one. Nobody knew they were coming until it was too late. The first colony to fall was a peaceful world of farmers. They arrived like a dark cloud and consumed everything. People, animals, plants, buildings. The planet itself was stripped down to bare rock in 3 days. Then they moved on. High Speaker called every fleet in council space to defend the border. 10,000 warships from 100 different species gathered together. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever assembled. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 9,000 ships were destroyed. The survivors fled in terror. They did not stop. They did not slow down. They just kept coming. Colony after colony fell, burned. Species that had existed for millions of years were eaten alive. The council met in emergency session after emergency session, but there was nothing they could do. They were losing. "We must evacuate," announced. Her voice shook with fear. "Take whoever we can save and run. Find somewhere they cannot reach." "Where?" a delegate asked. "They will follow us anywhere. They will eat everything." Nobody had an answer. Then the message came. It appeared on every screen in council space at exactly the same moment. Every planet, every station, every ship, the same face looking back at them. A human face. General was old. His hair was gray and his skin was lined with years, but his eyes were sharp and clear. He wore a black uniform with a single silver star on his chest. "Galactic Council," he said. His voice was calm. 200 years ago, you exiled humanity to die in the darkness. You called us violent. You called us dangerous. You said we had no place among civilized species." The entire galaxy watched in silence. "We did not die. We grew. We built. We became something you cannot imagine, and we watched you enjoy your peace while we struggled to survive in the void." Stepped forward toward the screen. "Please, they are destroying everything if you can help." "We know about the," interrupted. "We have been tracking them for 50 years. We knew they would come here eventually. And you did nothing. We owed you nothing. You threw us away like trash. Why should we save the people who abandoned us? His head dropped in shame. She had no answer. But we are human, continued, and humans do not let others die when we can help, even those who hurt us, even those who hated us. The screen flickered. Behind, a massive fleet appeared, ships like nothing the Council had ever seen, black and sleek and bristling with weapons, thousands of them, tens of thousands. We are coming, said, not because you deserve it, not because we forgive you. We are coming because it is right, because protecting the weak is what makes us human. You would help us after everything. Smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. We remember your exile. We came anyway. The transmission ended. 3 days later, the human fleet arrived at the main battle line. The Council forces were barely holding on. Ships burned everywhere. They pressed forward like a wave of death. Then the human ships opened fire. Weapons that turned creatures into dust, shields that could not be broken, speed that seemed impossible. The black ships moved through the swarm like knives through soft bread. General commanded from the bridge of his flagship, the Remembrance. Around him, officers from 50 different human worlds coordinated the attack. Focus fire on their queen ships, he ordered. Kill the minds and the bodies will die. The Council forces watched in amazement. They had spent 200 years calling humans dangerous. Now they saw why. Humans were not just dangerous, humans were terrifying. They fought with a fury that no Council species could match. They took risks that would be considered insane. They pushed their ships beyond all limits, and they did not stop. They did not slow down. They did not rest. How are they doing this? A Council captain whispered. His first officer, who had studied human history, shook his head slowly. This is what they are. This is what the Council was afraid of. Now it is saving us. They were confused. They had never met prey that fought back so hard. Their queen minds tried to adapt, but humans were unpredictable. They changed tactics every few minutes. They attacked from angles that made no sense. They sacrificed ships to create openings. It was chaos, beautiful, deadly chaos. On the 5th day, ordered the final push. Every human ship charged forward at once, straight into the heart of the swarm, straight toward the central queen. All ships, this is General. Today we show the galaxy what exile made us. Today we prove that humanity is not a mistake. Today we save those who would have let us die. The battle was brutal. Ships exploded on both sides. Lives were lost by the thousands. But the humans kept pushing, kept fighting, kept dying for people who had rejected them. When his flagship reached the central queen, he gave one final order. Fire everything. The queen died in a storm of light. Without her, the swarm lost its mind. Creatures turned on each other. Their attack became chaos, then retreat, then nothing. The battle was over. Sat back in his chair. He was bleeding from a cut on his head. His ship was barely holding together, but he was smiling. Contact the Council, he said. Tell them it is done. Across Council space, celebrations erupted. Species that had faced extinction were now saved. The swarm, terror of 100 galaxies, had been stopped. By humans. By the species they had thrown away. The galaxy would never be the same. The war against the swarm lasted 17 days. In that time, humanity lost 40,000 ships and 6 million soldiers. It was the bloodiest battle in human history. But they won. Now the galaxy waited to see what would happen next. Would humans demand revenge for their exile? Would they claim Council territory? Would they become the new rulers of known space? The Council feared the worst. They gathered in the Great Hall, the same hall where Admiral had been told to leave 200 years ago. The same floating platforms, the same strange mixed air, the same watching eyes. But this time, humans stood in the center. Doctor was not a soldier. She was a scientist and a diplomat. She had been chosen to speak for humanity because she understood both anger and forgiveness. She was small and quiet, with gentle eyes and gray hair. She looked nothing like a conqueror. High Speaker bowed her four-armed body low. Doctor, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer our deepest thanks. Without human intervention, we would all be dead. They would have consumed everything. Nodded politely, your thanks is noted. The hall was silent. Everyone waited for the demands, the threats, the punishment. Looked around the room slowly. She saw the same species that had voted to exile her ancestors. The water beings, the crystal creatures, the ones with too many eyes, they all watched her with fear. 200 years ago, she began, Admiral stood in this very spot. She was told that humanity was too violent, too dangerous, too different. She was told to take her people and leave. Nobody spoke, nobody moved. Accepted the exile, not because humans were weak, not because we could not fight. She accepted because she understood something that the council did not. What did she understand? Asked quietly. That we would become stronger in the darkness. That exile would unite us. That one day we would return, and when we returned, you would finally see the truth about humanity. Stepped forward. Despite her small size, she filled the room with her presence. You studied our wars. You counted our dead. You saw our violence and you were afraid. But you missed the most important thing about humans. What did we miss? We fight to protect. Our wars were terrible, yes. We killed millions, but we also saved billions. Every time darkness threatened to consume us, we pushed back, we fought, we survived, and when the fighting was over, we rebuilt. She pointed at the delegates. When they came, you ran, you hid, you accepted death, but humans ran toward the danger. We sacrificed our lives for strangers, for people who had rejected us, for a galaxy that tried to forget we existed. His head dropped in shame. You are right, we were cowards. You were not cowards, you were simply not human, and that is not an insult. Every species has its nature. Yours is peace and wisdom and patience. Those are beautiful things. His voice softened. But sometimes the universe needs violence. Sometimes peace must be protected by war. Sometimes wisdom must be defended by force. That is what humans are for. The hall remained silent. Delegates looked at each other, unsure what to think. You feared what we were, continued. You should see what exile made us become. She activated a screen behind her. Images appeared. Human cities on 1,000 worlds. Massive space stations. Ships that could cross the galaxy in days. Technology that made council equipment look like children's toys. We did not waste our exile. We grew. We invented. We evolved. We became something new, something the galaxy has never seen before. Will you take revenge on us? A delegate asked. His voice trembled. Turned to face him directly. No, revenge is for the weak. We are not weak. Then what do you want? Territory, resources, control of the council. Shook her head slowly. We want none of those things. We have more territory than we need. More resources than we can use. We have no interest in controlling anyone. Then why did you come? Why did you save us? Smiled. It was a warm smile, full of genuine kindness. Because it was right. Because billions of innocent lives were at stake. Because we remember what it feels like to be abandoned, and we would not wish that feeling on anyone. She spread her arms wide. We do not want your territory. We do not want your wealth. We want only one thing. Name it, said. Whatever you want is yours. Respect. The word hung in the air, simple, powerful, true. We want to be respected as equals, not feared as monsters, not dismissed as violent primitives. We want the galaxy to see us for what we truly are. And what are you? Asked. Thought for a moment. We are protectors. We are builders. We are survivors. We make mistakes and we learn from them. We fight when we must and we make peace when we can. We are complicated and messy and sometimes terrible, but we are also brave and kind and endlessly stubborn. She looked at each delegate in turn. We are human, and we are proud of that. The silence stretched for a long moment, then slowly began to clap. It was an awkward sound made for an alien body, but the meaning was clear. Other delegates joined in, then more, then all of them, the great hall filled with applause and strange sounds of approval. For the first time in galactic history, humanity was truly welcomed. After the ceremony, walked to the same door that Admiral had used 200 years before. Before she left, she turned back one final time. The exile is over, she said, but we will not forget it. We will carry that memory with us forever, not as a wound, not as a reason for anger, but as a reminder. A reminder of what? Asked. That even in the darkest times there is hope, that even when the whole universe turns against you, you can find strength, that humans do not break. She stepped through the door. We bend, we struggle, we suffer, but we never break. The door closed behind her. Outside, the stars shone bright and cold. Human ships floated beside council vessels in peace. A new age was beginning, an age where humanity would stand beside the other species of the galaxy as partners and protectors. The council had chosen exile for Earth. Humans had chosen something better. They had chosen to prove that exile could not destroy them. They had chosen to save those who abandoned them. They had chosen to forgive without forgetting. And in doing so, they had shown the galaxy what it truly meant to be human. The story of humanity was not over. It was just beginning.